The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey, greetings from Minneapolis. Come to you cordless, everybody. It's Monday night, June 28th, 2025. I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night, episode number 257, if you're marking your bingo cards at home, and you should. You know that. You should. Our guest tonight, Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, writer for RedState, proprietor of the Substack AsTheGirlTurns.com. Old friend of ours. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. Now, I do have to have a little apology here. I can't remember what was scheduled for tonight. Oh, yeah. The panel discussion, the At Night All-Stars was scheduled for tonight. We've moved a few things around here because, well, here's the deal. I inadvertently booked this week 2 economists in a row. And I just decided, I don't think, I'm trying to educate you folks, but you don't want to hear 2 economists in a row. You don't. So we blew the schedule up for this week. In fact, we kind of sort of blew the schedule up for the whole month of August, actually. But because I finally realized, I need to take some time off. It's like this is going to kill me. It's not easy being me. You don't understand. So, at any rate, Jennifer's on tonight. Okay, what do we? Oh, tomorrow night. I'm really looking forward to this. I've been promoting this for a couple of weeks. Rachel Ehrenfeld is here. And she's the author of the book, The Soros Agenda. She has written a biography on George Soros. And God knows I'm on my top 5 list of people I want to interview. He'd be on there. He'd be on the 5 because I don't know what drives this guy. And I don't have rhetorical questions. I have real questions. I don't understand why a guy who made a fortune in a capitalist environment is trying to kill capitalism. That makes no sense to me at all. And yeah, he's probably nuts, but I don't know that. So let's see if we can find out tomorrow. That's tomorrow. And Wednesday night we have Gary Gallus is here. He's an economist at Pepperdine University in Los Angeles. We're going to be talking about the economic stuff with him. And so Thursday is our 2-year anniversary. And here's where I can book the two economists in a row. Murray Sabrin is going to be joining us. He was our very first guest on our very first show, number 1. July 31st, 2023. I invited him back, and he's going to be joining us, but also Larry Newman's going to be joining us too. So, Mr. Sabrin's only going to be with us for about 20 or 30 minutes, so it doesn't really count as like whatever. It's like I'm doing my best, okay? I want to thank Kimberly. Kimberly's helping me book this show now. She's doing fantastic work. But it's like putting together a giant puzzle. That's the only way I can describe it. And now we're starting, and matter of fact, this is a prelude to that. Our Thursday show, we're starting to book more than 1 guest per program. We're starting to do that. So, it's like, right now, I think we're booking about 15 or 16 guests a month, so it's probably going to go up to about 20 or 22. And then if we end up adding Fridays, you don't want to know. Really, seriously, you don't want to know at all. But Jennifer Oliver O'Connell is here tonight, and she's fabulous. And we're going to put her on in 12 seconds. Here we go. Jennifer, I forgot to ask.
Yes.
Now, you're not in Tuscaloosa anymore, right?
Well, I am in Alabama, northern Alabama. I will not give the exact location for my haters who.
I didn't think you wanted to, and that's why I wasn't necessarily going to ask. But yeah, you're in northern Alabama, and you're Jennifer Oliver O'Connell.
That is correct.
State. proprietor of asthegirlturns.com. Great moniker there. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
And you're looking terrific.
Oh, why? Thank you. As are you, my friend.
I'm just gonna start plowing down the list here. Okay, so well, Jesus, why don't I look at the list? Do you think I could remember this stuff, Jennifer? No.
Nah.
What
After a certain age, we need our list.
Oh, God damn, we do. I forgot to mention the phone lines are open. If you want to call and talk to Jennifer, 325-225-5546, 325 call Jim. It's at the bottom of the screen. It's scrolling there. You can call and talk to Jennifer. Keep it clean. All right. Okay, so all right, so this thing on Planned Parenthood, we were just talking about this before we went on the air. So
we were. Do
you want to explain to the folks what this woman, this female judge, what she ruled here?
Yes. So for those who don't know, because some people they just hear one big beautiful bill or OBBB and okay, that's good, nice. Bye.
Well, yeah, but Jennifer, I have to stop you for a second. That's actually kind of the point of the show. Not everybody hears all news. A lot of news is wrong, and I'm going to get to that in a few minutes too.
Right.
So it's like we're trying our best to kind of cut through the bullshit, so and that's why we have you on. So anyway, go ahead.
No, well, thanks. So it wasn't part of the one big beautiful bill. They wanted to make it a part of it, but they had other means. Johnson, he's pretty sharp in terms of what's going on. People don't give him the credit that he deserves. He's pretty darn sharp.
He's better than people thought he was going to do, basically.
Yeah, they didn't. So the rescission package, which is basically Congress saying you're not using all this money, or we want to stop giving you this money, so we're going to take it back. And so that just recently went through Congress and the Senate, and part of or House of Representatives and the Senate, the full Congress, and they approved this rescission package. Part of that approval involved defunding Planned Parenthood as well as NPR, hallelujah, and PBS for a year. And people are just like, it's only for a year. It's, you got abortion abolitionists who are like, this is not right. And it's just like, what? And one of the things that I wrote in my own article is pointing out what a difference it makes to just say you are going to be cut off. They're scrambling. They're closing clinics. Hallelujah.
Jennifer, the NPR and PBS, they got defunded permanently, though, right?
They got defunded permanently. Correct. It's the Planned Parenthood that got defunded for only a year.
Got it.
So this judge decided, and it's signed into law. Congress has the power of the purse. This is the constitutional order of things.
And also, the corollary to that is this is not an executive order. Executive orders get turned over by the courts fairly easy. Like you said, this is an actual law passed by Congress. Right. Has nothing to do with
and not only an actual law passed by Congress, but again, this is what Congress does. This is what we elected them to do. So they are totally within their constitutional bounds, and nobody's overreaching, overstepping. This is Congress doing this, and President Trump just signed it into official law.
Right.
A judge, I think she's from Boston, Indira Tawani. I may not have pronounced that correctly, but Judge Tawani decided that no, I need to block this. You not allowing us to give money to you not allowing Planned Parenthood to have Medicaid money and Medicaid funds. She didn't give a reason. She just put up a temporary order, temporary injunction. Finally, she's come up with her reasoning, her ruling, and it's all feels. It has nothing to do with case law, has nothing to do with basis in anything that's a part of her jurisdiction. I mean, she's a district judge, so she has purview in a particular area. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything. She's basing it on the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, or the First Amendment and the Fifth Amendment, claiming it's violating their free speech rights. It's like, what does giving away, providing abortions and contraception have anything to do with free speech rights?
I don't know. No one else does either.
So whatever she's doing, it one has no basis in case law, and two, again, she's overstepping the bound. I mean, they already ruled on this. SCOTUS already ruled on this, that you district judges are limited to your jurisdiction.
Right.
She's trying to apply something across the entire United States. It's like, no, that does not work. Unless you have someone of standing in your district, you have no right to bring anything, and there's nobody withstanding being affected by this new law. So there's a lot of problems with this, but again, really the goal of all this lawfare and these ridiculous activist judges is to just cause trouble and gum up the works, and also try to instill a little fear in people who are squishy. Read certain congressional Republicans and other other elected people. Right. That's all it's about. It has nothing to do with anything that is concrete or realistic or based in law.
And I just sit here and I think, oh my God, it's a banana republic. It's just bullshit. There's no other way to put this. Now, I can't even remember who it was. I was trying to remember who I was talking to on the show a couple of weeks ago about how I was complaining. It wasn't this, about another thing that Congress passed that some judge was trying to overturn. And I thought, well, I said to the guest, I can't remember who it was. I said, well, this was an executive order. It was a law. And the guest did point out to me that the courts can overturn laws passed by Congress if they're deemed unconstitutional. And that's exactly what she's trying to do here. She's citing the First and the Fifth Amendment. I don't know where the hell either one of them come into this. I can't think of to save my life, not to mention the fact that, like you said, it's for 1 year, and Planned Parenthood is not going to go out of business without this money. They're not. And that's actually true of NPR and PBS too. I mean, they're going to be around.
They're maybe NPR and PBS, because people are stupid enough to keep funding those idiots.
That's right.
Planned Parenthood, the majority, 97% of their business is abortions, probably more like 99.
Yeah.
They are not going to be able to survive. I mean, this is why they're closing clinics. There was a major center in Houston that they built up as, this is the Mecca. This is the vision of Planned Parenthood for the future. Spend billions of dollars to build and fund this center. They closed it down. They moved their services to Dallas is taking over the southern end in Louisiana. That's a major victory. And it's also a indication that no, they can't survive without this Medicaid funding, and therefore they don't need to have it.
Well, Jennifer, answer me this though. Do they do abortions for free?
No.
So they do charge. Is it? Yeah. I assume, but they're charging way below the market rate. Is that the reason?
Either charging way below the market rate, or Abby Johnson would be a better source to find out exactly how they do what they do, because she used to run a Planned Parenthood clinic before she saw the light, and now she's a pro-life activist.
And I'm not trying to put the spot here, but I don't even know if I go to a regular hospital and try to have an abortion, roughly what would the cost be? I have no idea.
I can't tell you that either. Okay. It's not something that I would ever recommend anyone to have.
I understand. That's right. I understand what happened to me. But the thing is, then the other question is, okay, they can't afford not to have this money. Is that because they're completely, doo-wopping this money everywhere to all? Yeah. They don't have their financial shit together. If they got their financial shit together, they probably could afford to do this, but they never had to do that before.
They rely upon the money to, first of all, do their political advocacy, to pour in money to Planned Parenthood Action, which basically, forces pro-choice Democrats or whoever to, be in office. All that coordination, that's a majority of the money goes to that. The other half goes to whatever their promotional arm that promotes gender affirming care, that promotes abortion, that claims that, women are going to be destroyed if they can't get access to the abortion pill.
Women are going to die. What are you talking about? Women are going to die. You know that. Millions of them. They're going to die.
According to Planned Parenthood Federation, yeah, and I mean it 2002 when they made when the SCOTUS ruled on the Dobbs decision and overturned Roe, women are going to die, and
Right.
as far as I can tell, nobody's died yet.
So
Sadly, children are still dying, but a lot less.
Stephen
than
Colbert
before.
fans are going to die. You know that, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to say that on public radio. I was going to say something nasty and snarky, but no.
You can, we're not on the air.
I know I can, but my reputation precedes me.
I got this right on the top. You know that, right? Because I'll drop an F-bomb every once in a while,
So I will save that. I won't have to do any repenting later.
Because I've never had an abortion and really can't apply for one. My thing here is the PBS and NPR, because I'm obsessed with the media and have been my entire life. And they're not going to go away, because they can't decide whether they need this money or they don't need this money. If you ask them, well, it's only 7% of our budget. Well, okay, then they'll cut out 7%. And then they say, we're going to go broke if we don't have the money. Well, okay, then you got a problem, But
people give billions of dollars to these organizations. I mean, they're good at all these pledge drives. Even with the federal money, they were constantly doing pledge drives when I used to watch them. So just do more pledge drives. Just get more, get Stephen Colbert, hire him, right. Give him a place to be.
They will. Now, Minnesota Public Radio Network is the second largest public radio network next to NPR in the country. And they've been running about 50 years now. And the last I heard, I don't know if you know how this works, but if you're a nonprofit organization or if you're 501(c), I think it is, and you make more than 25% of profit on your budget, you have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Right. They've paid taxes about half of the years of their existence. So they've been making plenty of money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any trouble with money coming in. It's all working for them, Prairie Home Companion, all that sort of crap. Here's my deal on this is 50 years ago, well, I'm way older than you. 50 years ago, we had 4 television channels. And maybe at that time you could justify a legitimate justification for public broadcasting. You sure as hell can't anymore. I mean,
no, not with 1,000 channels and nothing on. Not to mention streaming and podcast. And we are inundated with information. You can find it anywhere. We don't necessarily need a PBS or an NPR. And the thing is, again, if they were doing anything essential or that apply to all Americans, maybe I think about it. But their stuff is left wing. It's left wing causes. It's stuff that's in a bubble. Discussion of whether genes are racist. I mean, come on. It's like
people depend on public broadcasting for the weather. No freaking way. They do not.
No, definitely not.
No,
we live in rural disaster zone. No, we don't turn on NPR and PBS. We turn on either a weather spotter on YouTube or NOAA radio, and that's about it.
That's right. Those poor people in South Carolina. I mean, they were bitching a moment about the fact that PBS didn't or NPR didn't broadcast anything about their damn hurricane. Like, wait, it's like, what the hell? Nobody. This is I don't know. How can they pull this stuff out of their butt? I just don't understand. This is
because they're allowed to spin. If the left is good at anything, they're major spinners, and so they will spin anything. And they've been spinning this forever, making it look like, again, children will die, people will die,
right?
And people who have no concept of what they do, that all they do is exist in DC. And again, nobody in the rural area listens to them. we have other means of finding out how to get information. It's certainly not through NPR and PBS.
Yeah, well, anyway, they're not going to go away at all, and that's fine. As far as the public isn't paying for it,
I just don't want to give my tax, and the majority of people don't want to give their tax dollars to it. There are bigger things and better things I can give my taxpayer dollars to. I
Right.
can keep it and put it in my pocket. I don't need to give it to you.
Or you can give it
Pure
to
and simple.
Jeffrey Epstein. You could do that.
Well, he's dead. He's kind of dead, isn't he?
He's dead, right? And
Yeah.
so this is the thing. So now so I don't think MAGA's as upset about this as people think they are, but there are people who are upset. There are. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And the just came out today. Trump happened to say in an offhand remark at a press conference over in Scotland about the fact that the real reason he cut off Jeffrey Epstein out of his life was because Epstein stole some of his employees, and he said that was a no-no, and he never talked to him again. And okay, that's all right. And he claims he never went to the island, and he says he's glad. He says it was one of his better moments. Is what he described it as.
Yeah.
Because he's a horn dog. There's that's
Right.
straight man. It's like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but there are men, and I'm sorry, I believe he's one of those men, whether people want to paint him a certain way or not, that has no. I mean, he may have married younger than him, but he didn't marry 15, 16, 18-year-olds.
Right.
These total children.
You're absolutely
that some men go after. So it's not even anywhere in his type.
It doesn't. At some point, when you're old enough, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, if you're 70, you marry somebody that's 40. That's a mature adult.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
So you're right. It's way different than somebody 40 going out with somebody that's 18. Totally different.
Anyway. Totally different. And as far as I'm concerned, and again, whether it's MAGA or whoever is wee-weeing themselves up, these stupid influencers probably. And yes, I'll leave that at, because a lot of them are just darn stupid. It amazes me. Stupid. It amazes me what they throw up.
We should actually talk about that, because that's like, oh my God. Like, go ahead.
Do you think in all of these how many cases lodged against him, 91 lawsuits and the impeachments and trying to get him off the ballot, do you think that if they had any evidence of him and Epstein, that it wouldn't have been exposed by now?
That's right.
Come on.
That's exactly correct. Right.
It's like, put your thinking cap on.
Right.
Like him or not.
Right.
That as much as they were trying to go after him and not allow him to win the presidency again, they would have dragged that out 9 ways to Sunday by now. They don't have anything.
That's correct. So I have had a couple of guests on the last couple of weeks who had some interesting theories. One of them was a guy named Nils Gravelius, and he's a private investigator out of Los Angeles. And his theory is that, they say that Epstein actually did kill himself, and a lot of people don't buy it. And I kind of don't either. But he has a very interesting theory, and that is he thinks it was an assisted suicide. Here's his theory. So I don't know if you know this. They pulled Epstein's roommate out of that cell like 2 or 3 days before this happened, right?
I remember that, yeah.
Right. And so Gravelius thinks that guy was a serial murderer. And he thinks that roommate, that somebody talked to the roommate, and the roommate told Epstein, look, here's the deal. You either got to off yourself in the next couple of days, or I'm going to torture the crap out of you, and then I'm going to kill you,
Right.
So, because, and so that was and that all that stuff that went wrong, like the cameras not, and the guards falling asleep and all that sort of stuff, that was all set up, but he actually did kill himself. That's Gravelius's theory. So basically the powers that be could actually say he killed himself. We didn't do it, even though he was encouraged.
Yeah.
Interesting theory. So, and the other thing is about the fact that what is the other thing, Jim? The other thing is about the fact that oh God, what was it? God damn it, I can't remember now. This is, you don't want to get as old as me, then you start to look bad too. It's like, you don't want to do that. Okay, so let's talk about the thing about the fact that nobody knows where Jeffrey Epstein got his money. Now, that's not actually true. He had, I don't know if you know, I read about that. I've been reading about this guy since I talked to Gravelius. He started out as a high school teacher. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah, and then he ended up, because he was taught in a private school. He had a lot of rich parents.
Yeah, he had a lot of rich contacts, and apparently he was a consummate con man. I mean, there are people who could sell Eskimos ice cubes.
Okay. So
And he was one of those people.
I just remember what the other thing is. So yeah, so although he had public jobs running hedge funds and stuff like that. There's no record apparently of him ever actually personally trading any stocks. None.
Right.
He never did it. But Grevelius's other theory, which I found really, really interesting, and he said, well, think about this. What if Epstein isn't the brains here? What if Ghislaine Matt, whatever how the fuck you pronounce her?
Yeah, Ghislaine.
What if she's actually the brains and he was the front? And I thought, well, that's a really interesting theory because the whole I talked to Bill Walton, very, very connected guy. He was on the Trump transition team. He's run numerous huge companies. I had a very nice chat with him, and he said his network was telling him, as a lot of people have said, is that Epstein was working for Mossad, the Israeli CIA. But Grevelius was saying, no, maybe Ghislaine Maxwell was working for Mossad because do you know anything about her father?
Yes.
Yes.
She has the pedigree to fit that bill. That's more right. Than Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly. She has the pedigree to fill that role. That's right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely correct. Right. And I thought, well, that's a really interesting theory. So now she's in jail, but they're going to talk to her. And I don't know. Well, let me ask you, do you think they should give her immunity for her to talk?
God, no.
Yeah.
No. So somebody needs to, if he did off himself or got killed, whatever, he's gone.
Yes.
These women will never get justice from him or, see him pay. He might be paying in the afterlife, but not in this life. Somebody needs to pay for this. And frankly, if that theory of your guest that she really was the mastermind behind it, which it wouldn't surprise the heck out of me at all.
Right. I know it's very plausible, and like you said, knowing her family history is very plausible. It is. So I'm being subjectively moral here. When Trump says that that he didn't go there, all right. There's a lot of guys who will cheat on their wives, but they would never even consider having sex with a minor. I really do think that. I think there's a lot of men, they want a real woman, it's like they want the 35-year-old secretary and all this sort of stuff. The guys who want real minors, they're freaking perverts. I'm just going to say this straight out. If you're a 35-year-old man and you want to have sex with a 15-year-old girl, there's something wrong with you. There just is. Yeah. And so I guess what I'm asking is, I guess there are that many perverts, aren't there? It's like that. These people that went to this island, and like the count is apparently Bill Clinton went there 28 times. Although I'm going to say too, I don't think he's in that camp either. Supposedly, he was actually stuffing Maxwell. He was actually following her, supposedly, and I totally believe that. I think she was his type, is what I think. So, but that's the thing. It's just I don't know. You tell me. Are there? I don't have sex with men, so I don't really know.
I do not know any men like that. But again, I think like attracts like. If you are looking at that or attracted to that, you're going to draw people to you who are also in that milieu. And if you're not, then you're going to be shocked at the people who do show up. I don't think the majority of men want a 12-year-old. That's just,
no. I don't think so either.
I mean, it's for one, and also the fact that a lot of I know, thankfully, many honorable men. I'm blessed to know many honorable men. And they have daughters and they have granddaughters, and the thought of anyone wanting to come after their daughter or their granddaughter, they're going to put you in the ground. I don't understand. I do understand though the mentality of people who have power or have status or have influence. And this is just my theory. It's less about they're pedophiles or they're attracted to this, and it's more about, well, I am so powerful that I can get away with this.
Well, you can make it by extension. I think that's entirely what pedophilia is. I don't think it's really a sexual thing. I don't, because you're talking essentially the child is a non-sexual being,
Right.
At least that's what, I'm probably over intellectualizing this. I don't know, but I think it's mostly a power thing. I totally agree with you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a power thing. Yes. But it's also the fact that they are deluded into thinking they cannot get caught because they are so powerful. I mean, look at Prince Andrew. What happened with Prince Andrew?
Right.
I mean, he probably thought he would never have to answer for this, and then he got exposed.
That's absolutely correct. He thought he'd never get caught ever. I don't even think it occurred to him that he even get caught.
Yep.
And I just say he's an idiot, but that's his problem. Now, conversely. I'm going to just go, this is my personal opinion here. I totally buy the thing that Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. I totally believe that. You don't?
Yeah. Really? Yeah, I don't. I mean, one, he's a germaphobe. And have you looked at her? No.
Okay.
It's true. He's a known germaphobe and is very particular about certain things. So she skank. Bill Clinton, yeah. Donald Trump, no.
And the E. Jean Carroll thing, I don't buy at all. I don't buy that.
God. That woman is a loon.
That's right. She's crazy.
She is batshit crazy.
Right. She is. That's right. And he's also right. He said this. She is not his type. And she
right.
is.
No way.
After that, it's like,
yeah. Even at her best day, she wouldn't be his type. Yeah.
And her oh, you're gonna make me say that then? Her best days are past. Do I have to say that then?
Way past, yeah. Yeah. If she ever had them in the first place. Sorry, but
oh God.
You gotta wonder.
Okay, let's move on to the mayorship of Chicago. All right. So now this was in your publication, but I don't think you wrote this. This was in
no.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It was either, I'm not sure if it was Bonchi or Ward, one of the guys.
I got tree hugging sister. Is that Sister Tolja?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's our beautiful Stacey Matthews, Sister Tolja.
Right.
She's
right.
I'm a total aside, but she is OG conservative movement blogger. I used to follow her blog religiously. Really? So when I started writing for RedState and she was one of the RedState writers, I was just fangirling because she's just a fabulous writer, and her insight and her handle on all things conservative is just she's an excellent writer. So.
I have to tell you this. I've had John Greenwald on this show, and I don't know if that means anything to you. And he's a guy who runs the Black Vault, which is the UFO website, and I kind of fanboyed over him, and I think I alienated him. he's never come back.
There's just some people that are, I don't know, the stars of the movement in your mind, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. In terms of writing, there's just certain people that I'm just like, I'm not worthy. She's one of them.
That's right. I know. That's exactly what. Yeah, I've had many famous UFO people on the show. Kathleen Martin was on here. Stan Gordon, but him, I told him afterwards. I said, I'm so, you don't know it. This is like, I just like embarrassed myself, and I think he just thought this guy's a loon. Anyway, so the thing is, Brandon Johnson in Chicago, he says he's going to make up for their vast shortfall in their budget by what he calls progressive revenue. You want to take?
I truly do not. I shouldn't say I do understand, because I was born and raised in Chicago and that whole political ridiculousness. But why people why he hasn't been run out on a rail is beyond me. He has done nothing but destroy. Worse than Lightfoot, destroyed everything.
That's right. They had a terrible mayor, and they actually elected somebody who was noticeably, obviously worse.
Exactly. And has absolutely no solutions whatsoever, except, socialism, and it's Trump's fault. And I'm sorry, I don't care what your political leanings. I just get sick and tired of that. And people are getting sick and tired of that. They don't. The news media does not point to there's a whole league of black Republicans in Chicago who basically show up to the council meetings, call him out, and are trying to get rid of this idiot. There's a Democrat alderman who calls him out all the time. It's like the fact that he is still in office again is just amazing. I don't know what I've been out of Chicago a long time, so not sure what the process would have been to get rid of him. Maybe it is just election, but he needs to be gone.
Jennifer, do you think they'd ever elect a Republican mayor, even a black person?
That's a good question. The machine is strong in Chicago. I mean, look at look at who they got rid of to get where they are. So, it's a possibility. It all depends on whether they can get rid of certain people in the whole machine politics. Harold Washington tried. Sadly, he died way early. And then we got in Daley, who at least cared about the city, but he continued the tradition. So,
when was the last Republican? Do you know?
I think Verdoliak, was that his name? Yeah, I think Verdoliak was the last Republican.
And
mayor.
how far back is that?
I was a kid, so probably in the 80s.
Yeah. Here, I don't know. Here in Minneapolis, I don't know about the mayor, but I know we haven't had a conservative council member here for 25 years, and we haven't had two for 50 years. I know that. And what's happening here. I don't know if you've been following this because it's not really making the national news. It's basically the same thing that's happened in New York City. We have a person running for mayor.
Yeah.
That's
Mayor Minneapolis, who's a straight up social. Well, he's a communist, but they drape it in socialism and.
Mondami has actually said he wants to seize the means of production. That's communism.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight out. So he's a communist.
Yeah.
So,
but these people are leading in the polls, and you got to wonder why. I think part of it is that the people who actually care and who are conservative or conservative leaning have already fled the state anyway. Some dear friends of mine had to go through the whole BLM and George Floyd riots, saw their neighborhood burned down, and they packed up and moved. They live here in Alabama too.
Yeah, well, it is.
They've had enough.
In all these cities, it is amazing. I mean, not only that, they're turning Democrats. People thought they never considered, and a lot of these people don't become Republicans; they become independents. But they do become non-Democrats. They do. Yeah. They leave the party. It's terrible.
They've had it with the party. Well, I mean, their approval rating is now like in the 30s, something, 35%.
All-time low.
Right.
Yeah. And so, all right, let me ask you: what if you're running that party? What do you do?
I mean, they need to find a way to modulate to the center, but they're not going to. It's like they're in for a penny, in for a pound. They have doubled down on this trans weirdness. They have doubled down on mutilating children, transgenders in girls' sports. Double down on abortion. I mean, seriously, you don't kick people out of your party. I remember that convention. I think it was 2012. And what's his name? Me and my husband call him Via Retardo, Via Ragosa. He was the mayor. He was the mayor of Los Angeles at the time, but he was also over the DNC. And they literally booed God and voted any mention of God off of their platform.
Oh, you can't have
that. And rejected every pro-life Democrat. Yeah. I mean, just totally said, we don't want you in our party. So they have, and I mean, how deaf dealing can you be to have a Planned Parenthood abortion bus in front of the DNC, the one with Kamala in 2024? They literally had an abortion ban where people can go in and get pills and actually have abortions.
Yeah.
it's just sick. So, and again, it's not about, yeah, there are certain people who are okay with abortions with exception, but nobody wants to be killing children up to 9 months and even after they're born. I mean, that again, kind of like what you talked about in terms of the pedophilia. Who does that? That's just sick.
Right. And then you look back to 40 years ago and Bill Clinton's Democrats, and he said that it should be safe, legal, and rare.
Right.
And at that point, there was even for people who supported abortion, there was the basically the underlying thing that this is gross, immoral, and disgusting.
That it shouldn't happen. Right. It should have restrictions. But because, rape happens, because this happens, there are situations where it is unfortunately unnecessary. But that's the type of slippery slope you got, because now look at where we are. Now it's just like up to 9 months. Let's kill babies.
Oh, and speaking of slippery slope, I was just thinking about that today. The gay community is really screwed. It's terrible because everyone said, okay, there's a lot of conservatives said, well, we're going to gay marriage, and that's going to be slippery slope. And people like me, because I'm so naive, I'm sitting there thinking, well, but we're going to go after this. It's done. It's a done thing, And of course, I know a lot of gay people. I know a lot of gay married people. They're happy. They're doing their thing. That's fine. And then these trans people come along and say, well, if you don't support us, we're going to bomb, the LGBT clinic or something. It's like it's such a transgenderism is such a step from being gay that it's like these things really have nothing in common. They're apples and oranges, and then yet they're being lumped together now. And the public's distrust for the transgender people is now creeping into the gay community, and actually that's wrong. But in some ways, you can say, well, what were you expecting?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the gay community is doing its best to separate itself from that, Q plus plus, all the letters after that. I know Rick Grinnell, who was President Trump's DNI, and he's over the Kennedy Center now and has a couple other roles in the new Trump administration. He wrote a X post about that, basically saying, and it appeared on, I think, was it Margaret Hoover, or that it was some.
Well, is he gay himself? I can't remember.
Yeah. He was the first openly gay cabinet member, not Pete Booty, whatever his name is.
Right.
The Grinnell was the first openly gay cabinet member in
because he's Republican, so it doesn't count.
Exactly. Just like they want to ignore that Scott Bessent is married to a man and has kids. I mean,
right.
It's like, but Trump is a racist and a bigot. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
So Rick Grinnell actually debunked and tore down that argument that you cannot have. You can't be about destroying children. You can't be about taking away rights from women. That's not what we stood for when we wanted gay rights and in the gay rights movement. We didn't stand for any of that stuff. We wanted to, you treat me like a normal person, marriage equality, and they got that and they were fine. He said this other stuff is just a bridge too far.
Right. Right.
So Grinnell has said this. I met actually he's head of the Log Cabin Republicans in Alabama. Yes, they are here as well. And he was saying the same thing, that he stands with, the conservative movement on the things that matters, on the principles. This mutilating children is just wrong. Giving them pornography, in their schools is wrong. And that, they're standing with us on that. They don't track with the nonsense that's been going on with this whole trans activism.
Well, years ago, I worked for a gay organization for quite a few years. And what I found out is that there's a lot of, I can't say this about gay women, but there's a lot of gay men who at that time were closet Republicans. And you talk about the Log Cabin Republicans, they were basically, more and more during my tenure there, they were coming out in the open. They were openly admitting it. And at this point, I'd say that I don't know if they belong to the Republican Party, but probably roughly half of all gay men are probably conservatives.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the same for the women, because I mean,
No,
you have to explain
it's a different mentality, and really, it's very much like what runs the Democrat Party. It's not straight black men, that's for sure. They marginalized any men that are straight and
right.
heterosexual and just want common sense.
Yeah.
They've marginalized them. They've given it over to the freak show. So lot of transsexual men, gay men, gay black men in particular. Those are and women and black women. They're the ones who run the party.
Yeah.
They don't they have no, and which is why they malign and put down anyone like me or any black man who says, sorry, I can't align with this nonsense. And that's another thing that the Democrats are, they're doing all of this. I think it's like 20 million they've spent trying to relate to young men again.
Absurd. Yeah.
And it's just like, you don't even have anybody in your party that represents this. Right. or you want to malign everybody who does represent it, no matter where they stand. I mean, the latest nonsense is the Sydney Sweeney thing and the jeans. It's like,
first of all, I didn't even know that was some sort of like, ethnic slur about the fact you have good genes. I never heard that before.
It's not. And nobody assumes that except
right. It's just they just kind of like made this up, didn't they?
They pulled it out of their hindquarters. Yeah.
Right. I need to hear this from you, because I thought am I missing something here? I've been around for a while. I've never heard this before. I
mean, the concept of you need to find offense in everything. Or that everything is a cultural slur or racial slur, or this. It's exhausting, frankly. Yeah. I really don't understand how they exist in the world. Well, they don't. We see what's happening. Depression is on the rise, anxiety. It's because this is the world they live in and exist in, and they think this is normal. And it's like, no, it's not.
Right. And you understand straight men's love of Sydney Sweeney, don't you?
I mean,
she's basically become a
good-looking kid.
She's become the Marilyn Monroe of our generation, basically.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not my generation. It's not pop culture that I care about.
It's not my generation either. You're right. I can't claim it, but that's what I observe anyway.
I mean, my nephews who are in their 40s and 50s, it was Kim Kardashian. So every generation's got somebody.
That's right. That's right. It used to be the butt, now it's the boobs.
Right.
Again. There's only so many. What? Go ahead.
No, it just keeps coming around.
Right. What does it say? It does. That's absolutely right. It does keep going around. There's only so many body parts.
Right.
All right. Okay. You've been writing a lot recently about this whole Russiagate thing. This is kind of like become your wheelhouse of late. So where are we on this right now?
The last thing that I wrote was about the deep state of CIA operatives, and I mean, we already got Clapper and Brennan coming out calling Tulsi Gabbard a liar and saying that she got it wrong and she's just misrepresenting what is written down on paper. Hello. and documented by them, not by her. She's just saying, this is what all this contains here. So now, and they legitimately are scared because, again, it's their documentation, it's their fingerprints all over it. Obama's fingerprints are all over it. He may not be indicted for it. He may have presidential immunity, but he's complicit. And I think his reputation is.
Not hear this somewhere else that there's a possibility he'll be listed as an unindicted co-conspirator. Yeah, no, he's not going to jail. for no.
No, he's not going to jail, but I mean, the reputation of I never had a scandal and the first black president, aren't I beautiful? That's been tarnished, and I mean, his wife is not helping with all of her stupidity, but that's a story for another day.
It is, isn't it?
His reputation, basically, who I always knew he was, and who many of us already knew he was, is just being exposed.
Yeah. Were you living in Chicago? Were you living in Chicago when he was in the state senate there? No,
I moved from Chicago in '88, and I think he basically, I don't know, he didn't even steal. He basically got everybody wiped off of the ballot in order to get his first position.
It's
in
the machine.
government.
It's a machine, and Chicago does it better than anybody.
Most definitely. Yeah. So he's never, except for the presidency, he never legitimately won anything. The dirty deals that he did for anybody who wants to, and I'm not talking about all the other stuff that I could tell you about that exists about Obama, but just on the political side, how malicious he was politically from beginning to end. It's a book called The Case Against Barack Obama. I believe it's David, I want to say Harsani, but there's two Davids that I really like that I follow. One of these days, I have the book on my shelf somewhere back here, but I will. I definitely recommend you look it up. It's a book that came out right before the 2008 elections, but it was well written, well researched, and basically, again, documents his political supposed rise.
Yeah.
And really what it was political theft. I mean, he never, save for the presidency, he never legitimately won anything. He just wiped his opponents off the ballot.
Jennifer, I'm under the impression, based on what I've read in the past, that basically it was a quiet maliciousness. Like it fit his personality. He never really got upset. He never yelled at anybody, nothing. He would just
no drama Obama is what he was dubbed by somebody. No drama Obama. Yeah. Right. But it was all types of passive aggressive stuff. I don't know that there's a couple of pictures of him doing this or that. And obviously you know what finger that is. Right. Those were his types of microaggressions that he positioned, the way he positioned himself and that he presented to people to basically, say, hey, I'm in charge and you're going to get yours.
Yeah.
I read a lot of sources, so sometimes don't remember where it came from, but actually Dan Bongino, this was before he became deputy director. I was listening to his radio program, and I mean, he was a Secret Service agent. He was around all of these people. He was a Secret Service agent during Obama, and he said, Clinton was social guy, kind of daffy, but he said Obama was mean. He was mean, and not only mean but vindictive.
Right.
He didn't want to just get back at you. He wanted to tear you down.
Right. Well, and that's really interesting, because that's when it comes to the whole source and origin of this whole Russiagate thing. When this first came out, when after the election in 2016, and about a month later, and Trump says, well, the Obama administration was spying on my campaign, and my first thought is, no, they weren't, because why would he want to do that? It's a waste of his time. He's leaving office. Why does he care? Well, apparently you're right. The thing is, I was wrong. He did care. It was all vindictive. It was like he wanted to fuck with somebody. That's basically what it was. Yeah.
And he wanted to, again, maintain his, we talked about earlier about power, and I have power. I'm going to get away with this.
Right.
So,
right. Based on what you found and heard so far, I mean, okay, so Obama he'll get away scot-free, other than his reputation, but I mean legally. And I think there's a good possibility Clapper, Comey, and and who's the third guy? Brennan.
Brennan.
Well,
Yeah, if anybody takes a perp walk, it will be
it'll
those
be
three.
them. Now they'll end up in jail.
And frankly, I'd love to see them take a perp walk.
Yeah, especially Brennan. It's just like a snake, man.
Yeah, just a total disgusting human beings. You know.
But the reason I bring up that list is because the last person on it is Hillary. What do you think is going to happen? Because that can go both ways. That's why
it could go both ways. She knows a lot of dangerous people. So
you're right. We should talk about her.
Yeah,
I'm sure somebody's doing this.
I suspect that she's being held together by, tape. So that there's a distinct possibility that if it does go to trial and they do subpoena and whatever, she may not survive that physically or emotionally.
Yeah, well, okay. I can't remember where I read this. I read all your articles on this, but I can't remember if this was you or somebody else talking about the fact that apparently in these documents there's discussion about the fact that during the 2016 campaign she was losing it. Right?
Yeah, it was covered on RedState. Maybe my sister told you, but definitely somebody on RedState.
Yeah.
That she was not physically. They were saying that the Russians had this evidence of her physical decline as well as her mental decline, and that they were going to use that as leverage against her if she didn't play ball, and they didn't want. Part of the Russia cover-up was also to cover up for all of the stuff that they had on Hillary Clinton to keep them from exposing all of that.
Yeah. So, all right. So this is just me. I didn't vote for her in 2016. I voted for Trump because I knew she'd be a disaster. My thing was a choice of the lesser of two evils. I thought, well, Trump could be in a disaster, but it might do a good job. He was an unknown quantity. I knew she was going to be disastrous, so I didn't vote for her. So if she's losing it, I'm trying to draw a distinction between her and Biden. Okay, Biden was out of it, but should you be disqualified because you're crazy?
It wasn't just crazy. I don't know if you remember, there was a campaign stop in New York or somewhere during the 2016 where she literally seized up and they had to pick her up and throw her in the van.
No, I don't. I remember instances like that, but that particular one I don't remember.
Yeah, that this was all over video. I'm sure there's videos on X that still show it. I mean, they literally had to throw her in the van because whether it was probably physical, she was incapable of getting back into the van.
Okay.
And so it wasn't just a mental issue, but I mean, goodness, look at Biden with the Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever he has. People are saying Parkinson's. They're saying all types of things.
See, I'm making a small distinction between craziness and incapacity, and maybe that's bullshit.
But there's physical incapacity too that compromises your mental ability.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what's his name, Kennedy. They hit it, but his Addison's disease was way horrible.
Oh yeah,
and it affected some of his mental reasoning.
Right.
FDR probably wasn't making decisions in those last 2 months after he got reelected, before he died in Warm Springs, because he kept that hidden. They buried it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think physical incapacity has the ability of that degree to affect your mental state and the decisions that you make and who you have around you. I mean, if you're dependent on drugs to keep you going, kind of like in the case of Biden, who's manipulating you, who has a hold of the auto pen. Right.
And I may be revising history after the fact here, so forgive me, but I look back on my personal decision on that vote, and one of the things I thought, because I thought she'd be a disaster, is I had this kind of intuitive sense that emotionally she wasn't up to the job. I think that she's the type of person that would cave under pressure, and God knows
well, she was bought and paid for. She's always been bought and paid for. That was obvious way back when she became a senator, and he paid off the Fawn terrorist in order, freed all of them, pardoned them in order to get the Puerto Ricans online with her campaign for the Senate. She has always been compromised. I mean, what they did to Haiti and all of the money laundering that has gone through the Clinton Foundation. It's like there is nothing. She knows how to play politics in the political game, but she's absolutely craven. And so whoever the highest bidder would have been, whether it would have been Iran or Iraq or, Russia, she would have caved to him. And she did as Secretary of State. I mean, all the ridiculous things that went on, what she did with Benghazi. Yeah. I mean, that to me, for me, that was really, and I'm not saying I was ever a great fan of hers. I found her interesting. I started reading and studying some of what she's done and realized that, she's just a straight up Marxist who pretends to be this reasonable, moderate person. And then when the whole Benghazi thing happened and they blamed it on a video, when it was them assigning someone in a country where they know they didn't like gays, why would you have a gay ambassador in a country and then leave them totally wide open, ignore security protocols? To me, that really disgusted me. And I'm just like, she doesn't need to be anywhere near office.
This is not a rhetorical question. Do you think that when you've been that craven for that long, just like a serial criminal waiting in jail, like on death row, do you think that gets to your psyche after a while?
Well, it could be a part of her emotional issues, because a seared conscience shows up in different ways, sometimes physical, sometimes in your behavioral issues. So yeah, this could be the reason behind some of her bizarreness, weirdness, flashes of mood.
I mean, have you ever noticed this, Jennifer? And I'm drawing a vast generalization here, but generally good people aren't that scared of death. The people that are scared to death are the people who led basically really bad lives.
Right.
And you talking about serial murderers, they're absolutely the worst. They don't want to die under any circumstances. And I think that has something to do with, I mean, I've studied reincarnation, and I think I don't know if hell is real per se, but I think something maybe happens after death that we have an instinctive kind of feeling about meeting our maker. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out. I don't know if
Well, it says in Ecclesiastes that God has placed eternity in our hearts. Yeah. And we instinctively, whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, it was written in our DNA to know that this is not the whole it's not the whole shebang.
Right.
You don't live to just live and live for yourself. But whether people choose to not live for God or choose to live against God, it's going to have an effect. It's going to have an eternal effect. And instinctively we know that, but some ignore it. Pour other things into it, and some people realize it and live their lives accordingly.
That's a great place for us to end.
Cool.
Thank you. I appreciate your wisdom and I appreciate your talent. I really do.
Thank you.
Now,
thank you so much. Always great joining you.
Except I got a problem here. I will put your links up to some of these articles we talked about, especially those stuff that you write about Russiagate on our blog. Yeah. Our blog is behind. So I don't know when I'm going to get them up, but I will get them up. I will do that. So
all right.
I apologize for that, but I really appreciate you coming on always. You know that. So
you're welcome.
Anyway, you take care. All right.
You too. Have a great evening.
We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That was Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, writer of RedState.com, and she's the proprietor of the Substack called As the Girl Turns at asthegirlturns.com. The phone lines are still open. You can call and we'll talk to you. 325 call Jim, 325-225-5546. The bottom of the screen there, scrolling across. So, at the very end there, we were talking about, I brought up this thing about how people seem to have how people who not lived good lives seem to be unusually afraid of death. And I'm actually glad that Jennifer quoted scripture, because I'm not one to quote scripture, even though I read the Bible. I'm and it's not, I don't want to come off here that I'm not the least bit anti-Christian, but I kind of want more, what's the word I'm looking for? Empirical evidence. But the thing is, I get it. There's a lot of it. So, I've talked before, and we've had guests on the show who've talked about this, about a guy named Ian Stevenson, who worked at the University of Virginia, and he died about 10 years ago, I think. He was a professor there, and they have a Department of Paranormal Studies now because of his work. So, I've told this story before, but it bears repeating. In the early 1960s, for whatever reasons, I've read the story of how this happened, but it was quite serendipitous. He started to get calls from parents. He got a call from a parent saying, my kid claims he was alive in a previous life. Now, the kid's like 3-4 years old. And there's a pattern here, which I could just say. So, at any rate, Stevenson looks into this, and so more and more of these adults, I don't know if he ended up in the newspaper, I can't remember what happened. He gets calls from more and more people, to the point where, this was in the early 60s, by the late 70s, 10, 15 years later, he's deluged with these requests. So he would go out and actually interview these people, these kids, in person. And you have to understand, this is pre-internet. So not only that, it's pre-remote, and none of this stuff. You could have done it by phone, but he didn't want to do that. He would travel all over the world to interview these kids. None of them were over the age of 5. They were all 3 to 5 years old. It was from the first moments they learned to talk, about 2.5 to 5 years old. And the real weird thing is, he noticed later that by these times these kids got to the age of 6, they'd forgotten everything they were talking about. They did not know. There's a very famous case that Stevenson and Jim B. Tucker, the guy who took up his work at the University of Virginia, there's a very famous case of a kid who claimed he was an agent in Hollywood in the 1930s, and he knew a whole bunch of stuff a kid shouldn't have known, especially, once again, pre-internet, where you couldn't look stuff up. Like, he knew the layout of what it was. He said was his office building. He knew where everything was. They took him there. They took this kid there, office building, still standing in Hollywood, and the kid knew his way around. He knew where his office was. He knew how to get up to the roof. He knew everything. It was very, very, very weird. But at any rate, that kid is now in his late 20s, early 30s. He looks at videotape. They shot this for a television show in the 1970s, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like looking at a different person. He doesn't understand. He doesn't know a thing about what he was saying. But that's the way these things work. So anyway, Stevenson interviewed these 700 kids, 70, and he asked some very specific questions, like, where were you born? Or where did you grow up? Where were you living? Who were you married to? What were the name of your kids? What did you do for a living? Where did you work exactly? All very, very precise questions. And the kids would answer them. And in 70% of the instances, all that information checked out. And then, like I said, I have to reiterate this. This is pre-internet, before the internet. And so he came to there's only one of two possibilities that he said that's going on here. One is that these kids actually were another person. They were reincarnated, and the kids claimed that. That's the other thing. They claimed they were another person. Or, he said, somehow these kids have tapped into some universal database somewhere in the universe, where somehow they erroneously ended up in some other person's data cell and had access to the data of their life. And like Stephen has said, well, the second conclusion is almost as weird as the first, and then that's true. It really is. But the thing is that it's not just that. It's the fact that more and more alien abductees talk about, they ask questions of their captors. The general scenario in alien abductions, you probably know about it. You know, people get taken out of their cars. They're almost always in the middle of nowhere. You know, not always. Occasionally, there's a few recorded instances of people being grabbed in major cities. You know, with traffic and all that sort of stuff. But generally, it's they're out in the middle of nowhere, and they get taken into a craft. They had experiments performed on them, mostly about their body, how their body works on their reproductive systems, and they're let go. And most of the people who experience this say that the ETs are fairly cold until they're done with what is their business, which is the medical exam. And after that, a lot of people say they emotionally, they warm up a little bit. And a lot of people have asked these people questions. And so, and a lot of the questions regarding, God and death. I mean, those are the big questions of humanity, right? Like, for example, and I just read this recently where somebody asked the ET to tell them about death, and the ET said, "Well, death is an actual illusion. Life on Earth is an illusion. This isn't really life. What life starts after you die." And then there's a guy named Michael Newton, and he wrote a series of books called not this kind of a life. He was writing about life reviews and near-death experiences, but these are people who claim to have they didn't necessarily die per se and have a near-death experience. They were regressed into their actual pre-born state. And and the amazing thing is all these stories are generally the same. And that gets me to something we'll talk about in just a second too, which I talked about last week, about the fact that pretty much all these people say the same thing. And that is they join a multitude of individuals in what's essentially a giant school. And you talk about what you did on Earth, and it's like it's just like, and this is supposedly life. So we come here temporarily, and we go to that place permanently. And then this is the other thing everyone's brought up too, and that is people come back to Earth. You can reincarnate, but it's entirely voluntary. And so why do people want to do it? Because they learn more. That's supposedly the thing you learn by coming here. Now you stop and think about this. I've talked about this before too. What do we have on Earth? Well, here we have limited resources. We have limited intellectual capacity. I'll just be perfectly blunt. We have that. We fight over all sorts of stuff that basically we all want. That's what it is. Now, in 500 years, roughly, I don't know what it'll be, we're not going to have these problems anymore. That is assuming we survive as a race, which we may not. But if we do, all our physical needs will probably end up being taken care of. And so I'm reading about this one woman who talked to this ET, and that's basically, some of these races of extraterrestrials claim they've been around for millions of years. So they're flying around the galaxy. And no one ever asks this, but I'm under the assumption it's because they literally have nothing better to do. They don't. It's like you might as well go out and do something, right? If you have all your physical needs taken care of, So I mean, right now, you look like in Western societies here in the United States and Europe and stuff like that, we live way better than the other half of the world, which is still like basically 200 years behind us. And it's like, that's sad, but it's true. There's no other way to put it. Well, okay, I pointed this out before. You've had your iPhone less than 20 years. We've had electricity on the planet, usable electricity for 150 years. We've had civilization for 15,000 years, and Homo sapiens have existed for 100,000 years. So 100,000 years, it took 100,000 years for you to get your iPhone. So what happens if we have another 10,000 years, or let's say another 100,000 years, and now that you have your iPhone, now that we have electricity, now what do you think is going to happen? Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. We're going to basically be able to and I think this will happen, like I said, in about the next 500 years, roughly. And I hate to do this because it sounds like I'm copying out, but I think Star Trek's a very, very good model. I think their timeline's very, very close about the fact. So, Star Trek Next Generation took place 400 years in the future, and they had that replicator. Remember that thing that Jean-Luc Picard used to order his Earl Grey tea from. Okay, we're going to have that. We already have 3D printers. Now, you may not know this, but General Electric makes jet engines for commercial airliners. Now they print they can print an entire engine off a giant 3D printer, the whole thing. So it comes out virtually identical every single time. So they don't have to worry about people screwing up. They don't have to worry about parts that don't necessarily the tolerances aren't right. They don't have to worry about any of that sort of stuff. Well, that replicator thing that Jean-Luc was using, that they use just all over the place in the Star Trek universe, it's basically we have the ability, and in this time we can combine elements into molecules. At some point, we're going to be able to take subatomic particles and combine them into elements. In other words, we'll actually be able to make gold, out of bullshit parts, out of dirt, probably, or water or something like that. It's because we'll be able to get all the subatomic particles and put them together. Now that's the next step. We're probably 300-400 years away from that. I don't know, maybe not, but I'm sure these people are doing it. They're probably, and once you can do that, then you could build anything from scratch. Then you have a 3D printer that runs off of subatomic particles and not like layers of aluminum, like we have now. And at that point, we'd be able to make anything virtually for free. It's basically like having right now, what killed the music industry is we can't sell files anymore because you can copy a computer file it perfectly and distribute it endlessly. It's no charge. It's virtually no charge to send it anywhere, to copy it, nothing. It costs virtually nothing. Well, think about that in the physical world. About at some point, we're going to be able to do that with physical items. And at that point, well, that's it. That's going to be really interesting too, because I sit here and talk about the glories of capitalism and the evils of socialism, and at that point, we will have a socialist society basically because we'll have to have one because there won't be any real need for. I don't know how we'll handle this. This is going to be very, very tricky because you're still going to need a few people to build stuff. You still will, but it'll be a very, very small number of humans who will have to be involved in actual manufacturing tasks. Now, fast forward to the present day. It's 2025. There's a Chinese company that is building robots. They're building robots with AI included in them. Which is now that's the big thing with robots now. You put AI in the robot. I'm talking about like a humanoid type robot with arms and legs. That can work in your factory and that sort of thing. You put AI in it so that it can make basic decisions on its own, which means at some point it may be able to kill you, but hopefully it won't. But here's the kicker, folks. Chinese companies doing this, they're going to be selling their robots for $6,500. $6,500, you can buy yourself a humanoid robot. $6,500, way less than even a car. It's like the cost of a scooter, and you can get yourself an AI robot. And this is going to happen this year. Now at this point now, a reasonably good industrial robot costs about 25 grand. And I know for specialized tasks, they can cost up to $200,000. I know that, but they're going to be selling robots for $6,500. And basically this is going to become like drones. See, drones are common now. You can go to Target and buy one for $40 and it works great. You got your little joystick thing, la-di-da-di-da, and the drone's flying around. It's taking pictures, whatever the hell you want to do with it, right? But what you have to understand is that the operating system for that robot is fairly complex because you got to have at least 4 rotors, and in some instances 6 or 8, and they all have to coordinate, and they have to coordinate with the touch of your little joystick there, so that the thing won't fall out of the sky or any of that sort of crap. It's actually pretty complicated. But here's the deal with that. It's commonplace now. So the reason you can buy a robot for $40 is because the company that's making it, I have no idea how many different companies make drone operating systems. I'm guessing there's probably roughly a half a dozen. They pay $5 per copy for the operating system, which is making the software company rich, but still it's well worth the trouble. And they build the drone for $20 and they sell it to you for 40 and they make $15 profit off of it, and everyone's happy, right? So that's the thing. It's complex, but it's commonplace. And that's what's going to happen in the future. We're going to have all sorts of stuff already your iPhone is already commonplace. You can buy a reasonably good Android phone new for about $150. I bought mine for $400 and it's fantastic. As it's not the least bit slow. It's like, I guess I refuse to pay Apple prices because I know how much they mark up, you know. But yeah, you think about that. You can get a reasonably good Android phone for less than $150. And right now, I think half the people on the planet have them, about 4 billion people, because it turns out why buy a desktop computer when you can pay less money for this thing that actually you can take everywhere you go. And also the fact that it turned out to be way easier to build cell towers than to lay landlines. That too. So anyway, so what's my point here? My point is that there's shit going on. That's where I'm going to put this. I have there's one thing I've learned after 69 years of life, and that is what's going on Earth is way more complex than anybody. There's stuff going on here that we don't have a clue about. I'm convinced of this. Let me give you one more example. This just came out last week, and I think did I mention this in another show? I can't remember. There's a Polish physicist who's figured out that all right, we have 4 dimensions in our universe. We have width, length, and height. We have the 3 physical ones, and then we have time, which also counts as the 4th one. This Polish physicist has figured out that time itself has 3 dimensions. So in actuality, we live in a 6 dimension universe with 3 dimensions of physical space and 3 dimensions of time, not 1. And supposedly, people who have looked at this say this seems to solve all the problems in physics people have been wondering about in a long time. It's basically this idea might quote unquote unify the theory of quantum physics. So this is going to be really interesting. Now, I'm going to mention another thing that I read that another ET told another abductee when they asked about time, and the ET said, "Well, time is real, but it's not linear." That's what they said. They said, "Here on Earth, your time is linear," and I don't know if that's because that's the way humans perceive time. I have no idea if it's a construct of our minds or whatever. But I bought this for some time. The 2 guys about 5-7 years ago won the Nobel Prize in physics for proving that time is real. And I actually doubted that for the longest period of time. I was for the longest time I thought, no, time isn't really real. We've either made this up or it's localized here or something. But this is a better explanation to me about the fact that the ET said, well, time is real, but it's not linear. And well, then what is it? Well, God knows, who knows? It's like just wrap your mind around that. Yeah, see if you can go to sleep. This is what I think about staring at the ceiling before I nod off at night. Anyway, I want to thank Jennifer Oliver O'Connell for joining us. We had a wonderful evening here tonight. Now, tomorrow night, like I said, I've been promoting this a long time. I'm looking forward to. We're actually taping this in the afternoon. We're talking to Rachel Ehrenfeld, and she wrote the autobiography on George Soros called "The Soros Agenda." And so I'm really looking forward to talking because I got a lot of questions. And we're going to I think we'll be taking your calls tomorrow night too. Anyway, you didn't call up again. What are you thinking? I need to talk to you. I do. You understand? Then I'm not going to give you a topic to call in on. I mean, that's a standard bullshit talk radio technique. No, I don't look at it this way. I want to interview you. You call in, you become the guest. I have guests on the show. You can be a guest. All you have to do is call in. But it's too late now. Tonight, anyway. Anyway, thanks again to Jennifer. I want to thank you for watching and listening. I really appreciate it. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are. And good night to you, wherever you may be. I'm Jim Peters. I'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, everybody.